Morning everybody, how's everybody today? Club Championship at the Leading Links today. So there's 160 players out playing golf today. Everybody's desperate to get back out. Property journey, 2004. I actually touched on this the other day, I'll flip it round just so you see. Caledonian House. So I bought a Caledonian House in 2004 and it's now Claire's Nails. Still got it though. I use the back, Claire uses the front. She's got someone else that uses a unit in there as well. But beautiful property. I love this property, purely for the fact it's 200 years old. It's that old, there is no cavity wall insulation. You know cavity brick? I'll flip this back round. There's no cavity brick. It's actually two bricks put together, no space in between, because they didn't know about cavity brick building at that time, to put the cavity in between for insulation purposes. Only found that out when I put an RSJ across the middle, because I wanted to take the post out in between it supported the roof. Anyway, I have the tagline, I became a workaholic. What's changed? What's new? But there's ways to do it. I got this property, I'll tell you about it. I got this property, the reason I got it was because everything was in my house. I had an office in the house, I'd got to obviously about over 30 properties. At that time there was only 10,000 landlords in Britain. I actually had over 30 properties, according to the according to the Sunday Times or something like that. Who cares? It was just an interesting statistic. I thought everybody else had that as well. So yeah, I bought this Caledonian House because I needed to get the office out of the house. I continually just worked because I was conditioned like that, because obviously I started my buy-to-let business and my investment property like that as well. And it kept going and going and going, and it was so easy just to walk into a different room when you were in the house, in the middle of something, maybe at 11 o'clock at night, or oh, I can't sleep, so I'll just go to work. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll just go to work. That's crazy. That's how I ended up out here one day at 3 o'clock in the morning playing golf. Madness. But I did it because it was like either go to golf or you'll just continue to work. That's how difficult it was for me, or challenging. It's what I've since learned though, a key strategy for this is just work at a certain level. So I've always been taught, it's, you know, you've got that point where you're working at peak performance, so make sure you just continually work about 10% under peak performance all the time. That way you'll never run out of energy and you'll always keep going, you'll always be consistent about what you're doing. Consistency is the key here, more than anything. It's being consistent in the process that you're to achieve, but just work under that. Morning Joanna, morning Jimmy. Just work under that peak performance level, so you'll never run out of energy and you'll consistently keep going and consistently keep performing. And then when you really need it, pull it out of the bag, jump up above that peak performance, work it way above that, and then come back down just to below there again. If you continually work above that peak performance, you're going to burn out. I've been there. That's another story in itself, a whole novel, I would say. Morning Karen. You're going to burn out, so don't keep continually working above that peak performance. Just work below all the time consistently and producing results. That's what I found is beneficial to me and my investment strategies, because your health is everything. It's what drives you forward, and there's no way you're going to be able to do anything or produce anything unless you work in that sort of fashion. Working sporadically up and down in terms of your energy levels is no good. Because what it does is it doesn't teach you anything, it doesn't teach your body anything, it doesn't teach it how to react. It's almost like a jolt, you know, going really fast in a car then stopping, going really fast in a car and stopping. Whereas if you go continually at a certain speed in a car, it keeps it all right, it's consistent. I hope that message gets across loud and clear. And I'll finish with this wee parable. I like telling parables, and this is a really good, this really emphasises it for me. So, competition, morning Isabel, competition, axemen, they were chopping down trees, and every year this axeman had this competition. He had to enter to see how many trees you could chop within a 3-week period. And he says, I'm going to win it this year, I'm going to win it this year, I'm definitely going to win it this year. And it was every single day these people produced. And he went out that, he got in and he told everybody, how many are you going to chop down the day, Jack? How many are you going to chop down today? He says, I'm going to chop down 15 today. And somebody else says, I'm going to do 16, I'm going to do 17. So Jack goes out and he gets and he chops all these trees down. He comes back, they sit at the table and they're having their lunch in the evening, and they're having their dinner. And the guy turns around and says, how many did you do today, Jack? And he went, I did 15. I didn't quite do the 16, but I did 15. But tomorrow I'm going to do 17. Okay, Okay, and then somebody else, I'm going to do 18. Jack says, I'm going to do 19. So they all ran out the next day and they all got up early and they went to work earlier. So he got up earlier, an hour earlier, and he started an hour earlier and he finished an hour later. And he came back to the table at night and they were having their dinner and he says, how many did you do today, Jack? I did 16. I said, well, that wasn't quite 18, was it? Oh, well, but tomorrow I'll do 19. All right, okay, right, no, 19. Somebody else I'll do 21. So Jack goes, he was all ready and he runs out in the morning. He gets up 2 hours earlier and goes to bed 2 hours later. And he works continuously during the day, even more than before, and puts more hours in before. And he takes, you know, he comes back and he sits at the lunch at night. And he says, how many did you do today, Jack? And he says, I only managed 12. What? 12? But you started 2 hours earlier and 2 hours later. Okay. Well, tomorrow I'm going to get up even earlier. I'm going to get up 3 hours earlier and go and stop work 3 hours later. So I'm going to do more. I'm going to do 20 or 30 now. So he got up the next day and they came back to the table the night after being out all day and he'd chopped all these trees down. How many did you do today, Jack? And he went, I only managed 8. 8? How on earth is it only 8? You were up at 3 hours earlier and you were back to your bed 3 hours earlier before you stopped work. You worked longer than ever before and you're doing less than what you did in the first day. And this is the moral of the story. One guy, it was far superior to him, said, Jack, you forgot the most valuable lesson. He says, what's that? At what point did you actually take time out to sharpen your axe? And that's the story for today. At some point in time, morning Francis, you have to take time out to sharpen your axe or you'll no work on peak performance anymore. And I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.